Everybody, welcome to Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk 16. This is William Kale from Coinigy.com, and along with me, as usual, is Rob Borden from Coinigy. How you doing tonight,
Hello,
Rob?
hello. Doing well. Excited for tonight's show.
Yeah, me too. And as usual, we have the world famous rational
That,
investor,
yeah, I hope not.
Brian Beamish. How
Hi,
you doing, Brian?
everybody. How's it going? So you can see we got our new website here up and running. Way to go, Julian. Julian's, I think he's asleep right now. He's so exhausted. But as you can see by the screen, we finally got our new website up and running. Man, it sure looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's
It
looking
does.
awesome. Hey,
hmm
Brian, you should scroll down on that website and show us those cool cartoon images you got.
Yeah. All right.
I like
I
those
gotta.
things. It's looking pretty pro.
Yeah, and actually, we got it. I mean, I was really fortunate. The good Lord's brought some just incredible people into my life, and we've got like market scanners now that tell us everything that's going on in the stock market at any given point in time, and we can analyze
Awesome.
it with our own algos and stuff. I've been really fortunate. This is JC. You remember we've had JC on our show here.
Oh yeah, I know
hmm
JC.
And he's a very active member of our community. You guys know Tim Gravity? Gravity's a pretty
Yep.
popular guy on Reddit. Anyway, he's an active member of our site, and Tim is just awesome.
Yeah,
So
both
I
of those
got
guys,
some
good guys.
great endorsements from people. I'm so fortunate to work with just some incredible people. And yeah, as you stated there a moment ago, these guys have just put together a fantastic package here. So we're kind of moving into the boys are slowly dragging me into the 21st century here. I was joking with you before we started the show tonight. I was showing the Coinigy boys my 1980s website, and these guys have, like I said, they've dragged me kicking and screaming into the 21st century. And man, I tell you, there's a lot of work in putting these web pages together. So
Hey,
uh,
you're preaching to the choir here.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Hats off to you guys. It can just, I have a new appreciation for what you guys, as running Coinigy, have to go through on a daily basis. So really proud of Julian and Sior, the hard work that they've done. And we're probably not going to open up the web page too much to the public right now. We're just sort of in a little beta. We've got about maybe a couple dozen sort of site members, active people in our community. You can see there's a bunch of people on the site right now. And we're just getting their feedback, see what they're going to say, and what they might suggest we do, and tinker and sort of slightly alter. But we're taking a really, really big step forward for us at TRI. So hats off, Julian. Way to go! You pulled
Great
it
job,
off, big
guys.
guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know Julian kind of was showing me some rough drafts of the site, and that was, a few months ago. So it's great to see it finally coming together, and it's looking great. So really,
Yeah,
really proud of you guys as well.
thank you, thank you.
So yeah, I guess we can kind of carry on with the show a little bit. Just wanted to give a little bit of an update in terms of Coinigy, kind of what we've been up to. I got a couple new cool features. The first one, am I presenting here? Let's see. Okay, now I believe I'm presenting. So we've been talking to a few exchange owners about, how do we make this process a little bit simpler in terms of users actually connecting their API keys. Users definitely are concerned about number one, security, and then number two, just ease of use. So what we've done is so far we have two exchanges on board, possibly three, but we've created basically what's called single sign-on. And I'm going to just demonstrate that with BitMEX, which we actually just about an hour ago made BitMEX balance tracking live. So you can connect your BitMEX account and track your balances. Everything will show up in Coinigy. We don't have margin trading yet, but we're working on that behind the scenes. But with BitMEX's integration now, we have something pretty cool. So you just choose BitMEX from the list on the left, and you get a big, nice, shiny green button here to connect with BitMEX. You click it, And you know what? I need to log in, so let me just do that. And I'm probably going to have to go back. Oh, no, there we go. So what you do is, Brian's sending stuff out here. What this does is basically sends you over to BitMEX, and BitMEX is going to generate an API key for you, and they're going to send that to us behind the scenes through a secure connection. So there's no copying, pasting of API keys or accidentally typing in the wrong key, or just trying to figure out where to generate an API key, et cetera, et cetera. All you do is you click Authorize Coinigy, and it sends you right back to the Coinigy website. And as you can see, your API key was added, and your balances were immediately refreshed. So then you can go over to the Balances tab, and you can now see, this is my BitMEX, I think I have, 0.05 XBT, also known as BTC in that account. So we have that set up with BitMEX as well as CSEX, or CCEX. I don't know how to properly pronounce it. And if you happen to be an exchange owner, know any exchange owners out there, we're kind of make sure to pass the word on. This method is extremely simple to implement for the exchanges. So, and we're reaching out to.
Do you guys talk to that Bitterx Bill guy on?
Yeah, we talked to Bill. Yeah, I'm gonna actually. I've been planning on reaching out to Bill and reaching out to Cryptsy and a couple of the other exchanges and Poloniex that we're kind of in regular contact with. So
I guess sorry to get off topic, but I guess Cryptsy survived, eh?
It seems so.
All right, I'll shut up now. Go back to your thing. Sorry.
No, I'm pretty much done.
Comments.
I'm pretty much done. But yeah, it seems like Cryptsy is still alive and kicking. So I don't know. Maybe those rumors were just rumors. Who knows?
The rumors of their demise were greatly over-exaggerated, right?
Right. So Rob, what was the other thing I was going to talk about, or was that pretty much it?
I think that was pretty much it. Mostly just showing the BitMEX integration and showing.
Oh yeah, I remember the one other thing. I did want to mention too. If anybody is interested in kind of doing back testing, testing their algorithms, we are working on our data export system. So we do provide data. There's a nominal. I can't talk tonight. It's a nominal fee for the data, but we have raw trade history on every single market that you see in Coinigy. So just to put it in perspective, we just did a record count on OKCoin, BTC, CNY the other day. Through I think late 2013 or maybe early 2014 is when it started. When the data started, we have over 300 million rows of raw trades.
Holy crap!
And that's So to put that in perspective, that's one market out of, I think we have, after all is said and done, I think like 1,500, 1,600 markets. A lot of those are now dead. Older altcoins that didn't really survive. But so if anybody's interested in purchasing the data, definitely shoot us an email to support@coinigy.com, and we're kind of working on a system for data export and getting that all set up. So I'll stop boring everybody with the Coinigy talk, unless Rob has anything to add.
No, sir. I want to get on some technical analysis here.
Yeah, we can move into that sweet nectar that the kids have been looking for, the altcoin analysis.
Okay.
Show them that nectar, Brian.
Yeah. Well, I love using the Coinigy site because I can keep track of all my balances here. And as you can see, we got all the colors of the rainbow going. Can you guys see my Coinigy little account here?
Yes, we can.
They're really interesting how Bitcoin, of course, went up and doubled in value, and the altcoins came back. You can see how Bitcoin sort of backed off here, and the altcoins are sort of stabilizing a bit. I also noticed too, I guess these are just a couple personal observations. I've been sort of cautioning people. I noticed last November, December, the altcoins, they kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. I don't know whether you guys remember that from last year.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of the same again this year. in that I think that the altcoins, to a certain degree, are subject to capital losses, tax loss selling, which often happens into the end of the year as well. So I'm kind of watching for that. There's an old adage, they don't call it the fall for nothing. A lot of sort of speculative assets really fall hard into the end of the year. So we'll see how that plays out. I think on balance, I think we're just sort of, it may look, according to the chart here, obviously we're trending lower. But at the same time, right, we had that massive revaluation in Bitcoin itself. The interesting thing, though, is that through this whole process, if you see the left-hand side of the screen here, we started basically, I guess that's September, sitting, just under 4 coins. When is this?
Yeah, it looks like
Oh, I'm
September
getting
1st.
old. Does that say September there?
Yeah, your date range up at the top there, and there in the filters
Oh yeah,
is
that's right.
9-1.
All right. And here we are sitting at about 330, 3 and a quarter. So actually, I'm not really too disappointed. We're down like about a half a coin over this whole experience. And I can start to see some bottoms coming back into the altcoin market, and a few coins that we look at tonight. I think you'll see that as well. I do remember we did a show back at the end of the summer, and at the very end of the show, I was kind of like, I don't like the look of this M here on our chart.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Bitcoin went through its face rip, and our account got thumped. At the same time, though, you got to be encouraged by, hopefully you guys can see this little W that's coming in here. So, having a portfolio of, I think we have about 60 or 70 coins now. In fact, this thing should probably give us a count, doesn't it? How do I do that? I've done that count before. Anyway, the point of the matter here is that we have a pretty robust look at the entire altcoin market with this. So I'm really, really pleased with that in that regard. And as you can see, I'm sitting on quite a bit of Bitcoin right now, and I wouldn't mind actually going shopping. So I kind of like doing these shows because, in essence, it's kind of like every week or two, I force myself to go and say, okay, well, let's go see what's out there. Before I get into the viewer selected list, and we had actually quite a few. I only took 5 out of the list, but how many were there? There's probably about 7 or 8 that you gave me, Will.
Yeah, sorry.
There are a few that I think that they're just they're in the sweet spot of the market, and they're just going nuts. And my hunch is they may just keep going nuts. Like there was, we had that gentleman on from, was it GRC? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, Gridcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think those guys are in the sweet spot of the market. Whatever they're doing, the market loves it. Right. And somebody asked me, in the request to look at Gridcoin, but we already looked at this recently, and I was like, this sucker's pointing up. It's not really much more I can add to the equation. As long as we keep making higher highs and higher lows, away she goes. There's ones like Ruby. Have you guys been following this one?
Mm-hmm.
There's no quit in this thing. Look, it just keeps moving to new highs.
Oh, wow. I thought for sure Ruby would be back on the floor again.
Well, and what's interesting is they really washed it out. Like, check it out if we do our good old reload zone. I mean, this is... and you almost have to ask yourself whether maybe this pullback was a little bit manufactured. Let's see if I can get this. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous, eh? I don't suggest that people blindly work open orders at levels. I kind of like, in my school I teach, let's have 3 reasons for a trade. But holy crap, is this not a case? Like if we go the midpoint of this range, and users, you guys watching this, you guys watching this video, this is usable information for you guys, right? I mean, that's the whole reason why I do this. This is the midpoint. This yellow line is the midpoint of this range, and it's often a good sort of reference point. Look at this. I mean, this is ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like someone wanted to back this thing up and load back up. And unfortunately, the public just got screwed, and somebody got one hell of a deal there, right?
Yeah, I wonder what the volume is on that one. I mean,
It
did
was
they make
one
a
coin.
killing or? Oh, okay.
No, 162,000, whatever the hell that means. Right? I mean,
Yeah, in the grand scheme of thing, I don't know what that's actually worth, but
yeah, I mean, I
sounds like a
guess you'd
lot.
have to, well, I mean, yeah, it's worth a couple bucks, right? The irony of it all here, though, is that hopefully what you guys have learned is it really doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
This could be U.S. Treasury bonds. This could be broiler chickens. This could be Ruby, an altcoin. It doesn't
I've been
really
killing
matter.
it in the broiler chicken market, Brian, lately.
What's that?
Wheeler
Sorry?
Chicken Futures.
Been killing it on broiler chicken futures.
Actually, it was funny because we were doing the futures class in our level 2 program the other day, and we were studying butter futures. I used to have a buddy of mine who he'd love butter futures. He just,
wow.
and the line is, of course, they're so smooth, right?
Well, global warming, I mean, is coming, so the butter's probably going to melt, so it's pretty easy to figure
I
out.
don't know. I guess can you sell butter?
Pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered right there.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway, so the point of the matter here is there's some interesting action, and they're even in the face of Bitcoin's craziness and the general altcoin malaise, right? And ironically enough, you're really 20% correction. I'm not really too concerned with that. And even and you'll see that I got a chunk of Ruby, and it's the kind of thing that's sort of holding the portfolio up is because we're so well diversified. What I like, you guys have heard me time and time again. I want to own everything. Give me everything. I want to own everything, right? No doubt about it. The audience should be well aware. I've bought a bunch of these questionable coins, and I've had to watch quite a few coins get delisted. I think Bitterix
yeah,
went on a big,
Bittrex just, yeah.
yeah, they went on a big sweep here over the past month or so, and I think and actually it's interesting there too, because we have about 60 or 70 of these names, and if you guys can remember how I get the total here, I'd appreciate it if you could just, where do I show the total number of coins?
You got to
that I have?
uncheck one of the boxes on the left. You can only have one account selected in order to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I think you
other one,
have to do a
probably.
stacked bar in order to see that.
Oh, look at that. Whoops, now I've lost the Bitterix account. Oh, well. Oh, no. What's going
Maybe
on?
it
Oh, look
is-
at that. I just lost everything.
Oh, it just
What did I
updated
do?
the
What did I
new
do?
Just change the end date to 11/18. That'll show you.
Yeah. It's updating
That's a
your
bug.
Oh, okay.
it's updating your
Then you gotta hit
balances
refresh.
for the day basically on the back end.
Okay, yeah, I didn't mean to get off there. I just remember I know there's one tab that I can do here, and I can just
Well,
show
probably
me.
down here you can 77 there.
Oh yeah, there we are. 77 coins, right? So we got a hell of a lot of these. And I think we had maybe like a half a dozen of them go off the board here recently. So 5-10%, yeah, that's probably not totally outlandish. The cool part about this, especially guys, I don't want to sound pedantic, but if there are any sort of people that report taxes that are watching this show, right? People are making an income. Keep in mind that I can use those coins that have gone off the board as a tax loss. So if I do have any capital gains implications, in the stock market, they specifically sort of design this every year so that the market can get flushed out, and it can start the new year on a fresh tone. So, kind of my comment on crypto in general, the altcoins in general. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a bit of tax loss selling, and now with Bitterix, and their delisting and all that kind of fun stuff, we may actually find that that pressure is fairly pervasive here on the junior market until the end of the year. We'll see how it goes, but the long and short of it here, I'm very happy with our performance, and I'm sitting on a bunch of Bitcoin, so I really do want to spend some money. And before we get going, I think a great example is this Ethereum. We've got a bunch of users on the site. Keep in mind that we have a pretty active chat room, and we're just people are on chatting, talking about different coins all the time. And this is one that's come up on our group. A lot of interest in the Ethereum. I put out a tweet recently, and I saw that you guys had retweeted it. So I do know that the audience did get it. I was a bit concerned on Bittrex how they went and took this to a new low. But what's interesting is if you go look on like Kraken, it didn't go to a new low. So a little bit concerned about the mixed messages there. Having said that, though, I am very interested in actually starting to work some bids, and I've got stink bids working down at this 0.0019 area. I will give a hats off. There is another gentleman, and he was auditing our course here over the fall, and I guess he was maybe listening to some of the stuff that I was saying, and he identified some candle patterns in here that he thought was bullish. And I was watching Alex. I think you guys chat with Alex a bit. We've had him on.
Chat.
Yeah, we've had him on this show a couple times. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was getting really interested in Ethereum down here as well. So hats off, Alex. Looks like you. I was a little concerned that maybe we hadn't seen the lows yet, but it looks like his trade's working for him now. I'm not at the point where I'm like pounding the table. This is a W, away we go. But I am at the point where I can, you guys have heard me talk about the fall is usually a dangerous time of year. So we're sort of heading through that. And I don't mind now starting to work some stink bids on some of these names. And, Ethereum's a good example where I'm willing to start taking nibbles. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't this 0.002? Isn't that the level that they did the ICO or whatever the hell it was way back when at? I think it was around.
Yeah, I don't know offhand.
So I'm sure people in the crypto community will correct us on that. Are you guys following the? Do we have like the chat box or something like that on the video page? Maybe you'll get some feedback about that. I'm sure Alex is probably watching the show tonight.
Yeah, hang on. I just opened up the Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, you can submit it. You might need to be on the event page. But
anyway, good example of we can actually start. There are some names that we can start getting interested in. So that was one that I thought I'd bring to the group's attention. I am interested in starting to work some bids down here. I am fairly Bitcoin rich right at the moment. I've got just basically a full Bitcoin sitting here in this account. So I think I might start going and doing a bit of nibbling here over the next month. I wouldn't be surprised by the time the next show that we do, I've probably gone and spent some Bitcoin here. All right, so let's get on with the list that was sort of asked to review tonight. So we'll start at the top of the list, and let's see how this did at saving everything. First one I looked at was Doge. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you guys... let's see if this loading data. Maybe while the site's updating.
Try switching markets and switching back, Brian. Sometimes that fixes it.
Okay, what do we got here?
Just go to the filter and type in Doge again. Or do that. That might work. There you go.
All right. Oh, I see. It's a different time frame. Okay, so here is our Doge chart. Does this look about right? Yeah. I don't know whether you guys, back in the 80s, there was a fairly, well, actually, it's very much older than that. There's a famous play called Waiting for Godot. Have you guys ever seen that play?
I remember the name from high school, but I have no clue.
Okay.
Not me.
Anyway, it was sort of one of these existentialist plays. I'm a bit concerned here that Doge, I'm a bit concerned that we broke these lows here. I would have really liked for them to have held in. And I'm a bit concerned about this pretty significant downtrend line now. I think that we are probably going to have to cool our jets on Doge for a while, which kind of sucks. If we just do this simple wedge analysis, you can see how we broke the bottom of the wedge. And then, subsequent to the break, you can see how they tried to reclaim that bottom, and that failed as well. So unfortunately, we're probably in a pretty big waiting pattern here on this bad boy. I thought it was interesting if we look at reload zones of this range right here. Um, and I often see this, right? This is why we call this 78.6 the line in the sand. You can see how they lost it here, but then quickly recaptured it, right? So the bulls were like, no, 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 we're still alive, and they rallied it away from there. You can see how now this is lined up with this trend line break, and kind of the same thing as the wedge, right? You can see how important this level was to the market, this 78.6 fib here, right? And unfortunately, we kind of lost it here. I often see this with I see it a lot in the altcoins, venture cap stocks. The fact that we've cleanly lost this, unfortunately, at the very best, what it means is we're going to have to come back up and test the underside. And I think that's what's going on now. Then we're going to have to come back down, test whether these lows were actually for real, and then try and recapture this line in the sand. I don't know whether, you can see how this is basically a V bottom here. And, we've been talking long enough. 16 episodes. We've been working together now for 30 weeks, eh?
Yeah, man.
What's my favorite letter of the alphabet?
I'm going to go out there and say W.
Hey, there you go. So the fact that we're putting in a V here, it's just not enough for me to get excited on the bull side. And then I have to kind of ask myself, Doge in sort of a weird sort of way was kind of a little bit of a fad, wasn't it? In that it was going to be, there's like, how many Doge coins are there out there? There's like 27 trillion of them or something, isn't there?
Something like that.
It's just a ridiculously high number, right? And it was sort of, I don't hear anybody talking about tipping people in these Dogecoins anymore. Do you hear that much anymore?
No, I mean that was a big thing on Reddit for a while. I know.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
seems to have kind of fizzled a little bit.
Well, so this is kind of where fundamentals meet technicals, right? Fundamentally, I just don't hear people talking about the story. Technically, I see a lot of technical damage being done here. So, unfortunately, first off the bat, Doge. I mean, I've got some. Full disclosure, you know me. I buy a whack of it, and I think I probably bought near the bottom on one of these runs. Been selling on the way up. So whatever coins we're still sitting on, technically they're quote unquote free coins. And at the moment, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. It would be sad if this went off the board. I hope not, but as it stands right now, I can't go and buy. Unfortunately, there are fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know how you want to put it. There are other names that I'm more interested in taking a shot on, and we'll get to those in a bit. You saw that I was interested in the Ethereum, and that's maybe one sort of dangerous thing about the altcoin market is, it almost seems like on an annual basis, new names keep coming up, eh? And as long as new names keep coming on the market and new stories and new kind of what ifs, a lot of these older coins, unless they stay sexy, unless they keep going to the gym, keep pumping up, the chicks are going to start losing interest in these older names.
Yep.
So, that's a warning. Now, so long and short of it here, am I a buyer right now? No. If I start getting some interesting price action, maybe recapture this level, put in some more solid WE type action, especially through the end of the year. Let's see how she acts through the end of the year. I could very easily see a counter trend rally back up into this reload zone at some point down the road, right? I could very easily see a scenario where we bottom through the winter, in through the spring, recapture these trend lines. I wouldn't be surprised if this apex is probably a date we should really keep an eye on. You notice that's out in March, April kind of idea. And then, of course, next spring we've got Bitcoin halving coming up. And my general feeling is, the crypto market has been on the outs for quite some time. I think Bitcoin has finally put in the longer-term technical bottom that everybody was looking for. And, we were joking before we started recording. We might see Bitcoin take out those old highs into that halving event. Very possible. Lots of
awesome.
potential technical targets on the way. But this market, do you guys remember when Bitcoin was $1,000? How Litecoin was dramatically outperforming Bitcoin?
Yep.
We haven't been in that type of market in a while. Maybe as we head into that halving event, maybe we get back into the type of market where there is some speculative fervor to the market and the altcoins start trading at a premium to Bitcoins. It's tough to say. We're certainly not there just yet. Let's keep our fingers crossed. With regard to Doge, I'm just in a waiting pattern. There's nothing really for me to get too excited about here just yet. There was some encouraging, bottom-y type action, but nothing for me to just start pounding the table yet, especially with year-end coming up here. Okay, I probably talked too much about that. Sorry, guys. Just got to keep this train moving forward, right? How are we doing on time?
Doing fine.
We're doing good.
Okay.
Doing well.
Okay, next on the hit list we have... what do I do? Over here, right? Load Bush. Next up, XRP. The XRP is an interesting one, right? Because technically this is supposed to be the bank's coin. I don't know whether you guys remember that.
Yeah, Ripple.
Yep. If we define bull and bear markets as higher highs and higher lows and lower highs and lower lows, we really don't have much case to be made for the bull, do we? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it looks pretty bleak right there.
Yeah. It was interesting how we had this trading range here established through the early summer. And this is sort of when the banks were starting to talk about using the cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I do remember. And I know Ripple got mentioned in a lot of those articles.
It's sort of like the bank's proxy. The only problem with that is, do the banks really care what the price of Ripple actually is? Does it make any difference to them?
That's a good question. I think they're more concerned about just using it as a medium to transfer money.
Right. And so, this is sort of where we get into the kind of conversation about, like, crypto being used for things like smart contracts. Does it really matter what the price of the crypto actually is? So, all the viewers, just try and keep in mind that just because, like, a bank says that they're going to be using a coin, that doesn't necessarily mean that the price is going to go up. And be careful with your capital, right? You guys worked really hard at it, especially when we're talking with banks. Banks, they can sit on assets for years, right? There is no duration to their holding period. And ironically enough, you might actually find that the banks would prefer the price of this thing be down so that they can use this as a tax loss vehicle against other gains that they've made elsewhere. So, if we
interesting theory.
Yeah, theory at best, right? I certainly don't have any, hard proof of that. If we think technically, what are some realistic downside objectives? This is one concept that I teach in my programs when we look at fibs, is this idea that trading ranges in themselves, think of markets, they actually, I used to work with a guy named Peter Davies. Anybody that's in the audience that is a futures trader will know who he is. And he has a site called Jigsaw Trader. And actually, I did this study with Litecoin a while ago. It was really interesting. And his basic theory is price only moves. Think of like a parking garage. And this is a floor in the parking garage. And the only way price is going to move is if it can eat through either the ceiling or the floor. And if you think of, like, say, a 10-story parking garage, each of the levels of the garage are exactly the same size, right? So we could actually make an argument that if someone had busted through either the ceiling or the floor of the parking garage, all they're going to really do is just go to the next level. So quite often we see this in the market, and it's one of the concepts that I teach in the course, is that a trading range in itself, if we fail that range, which you can see how we broke through the lows, and then you can actually see they tried to recapture those, but then they gave it up, right? And the failure of this trading range, ironically enough, is simply just suggesting that we're just moving to a lower level in the parking garage. Can you guys sort of see the logic behind that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so these would be the levels of the parking garage. It is interesting that, this is one key level that we like to keep an eye on when it comes to extensions. Do either of you know what 1.618 is called in the mathematics community?
Not sure. In the
Any ideas, Rob?
Fibonacci something or other?
It is a fib number. In fact, it's called the golden ratio.
Ah, yes. Okay, I should have known that.
And
I took math classes back in the day, I swear.
Okay. I don't think they would teach something like this in high school, though.
Well, no, in college.
All right, fair
We
enough.
got into some crazy stuff. I
All
don't
right.
know.
Well, okay, we won't go there.
Yeah, we're talking about class here, Bill.
We'll leave the toga parties out of this, okay? Anyway, just joking with you. So 1.618 is called the golden ratio. Remember, what is 0.618? In our little trading community, and I don't know whether you made it that far in our program, Will. Who is this guy? Do you remember this guy?
I know that logo.
I know Mountain Man.
Oh, good. All right. So the irony of it all is Brandon's sitting there trading crude oil futures. Not a clue that we're sitting here talking about him week after week in the crypto world. every 2 weeks, all of a sudden his ears start to burn. He's like, "What the heck is going on?" Anyway, so 0.618 is an important fib retracement level to us. It's our mountain man level. And 1.618 is to the mathematics community, it's called the golden ratio. So if I'm going to draw extension targets, I often paint this 1618 to 2.0 window, and people watching the video, I recommend you do the same thing. As an experiment, pull up a chart this evening, grab some ranges, and you don't need all these other ones. These other levels are important extension levels, but we don't need to get into that tonight. The thing I just want you to practice is go grab 1.618 to 2.0 and see how often markets, when they break ranges, they go to this next extension level. It's a handy little tool, guys, and I think it'll really help you. So hopefully that might be our big lesson for the night for people.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I think we can make a case that it looks like there was a bit of a technical bounce off the 1.618. You can see, what did we call this? Can you guys remember? What's going on right here? Something's happening here. What's going on here?
Divergence.
That's right. Very good.
Robbie got me by about 2.2 seconds there.
All right. So the point here is that the market is actually stronger internally, momentum-wise, than what price would lead you to believe. All right? Interesting, we're at this 1.618. The missing ingredient here is, where are the buyers? I just don't see any buyers here. Do you?
No.
I see a ton of sellers on that one bar. And
yeah,
that's about
well, and the trend's been going down for a while, eh? So this is a great example. You guys have probably heard me say this or tweet it or stuff, that this market is ready to go, like momentum-wise. And what I find is that, based on natural forces, 1.618, natural extension levels, We could do A, B, C, Ds, which would probably paint down into here. We can see our Willie indicator is very washed out. The public has just given up on this thing, right? The key for us to start getting bullish is we got to see somebody put some money down on the table here. Half of our battle is just to identify that the big boys have turned an asset, and then we just simply want to ride on their coattails, right? Additionally, speaking of alphabets, what letter of the alphabet do we have working here?
It's about, I don't know. It's the left side of a W.
Right, which is a V, right? Hopefully. Candle-wise, we can see what we teach in the program, an inside bar here. So it kind of looks to me like they, in the very short term, they washed the market out. And all they've done is brought it back into resistance, and our moving averages work great for sort of identifying that. The relationship of the moving averages is still negative, right? We do not have a crossover here. We're not bullish yet. We have a V bottom. I mean, ideally, what I'd like to see is this come back down, test the lows, and turn up and give us a nice W, right? I would love to see the OBV turn and make a nice W and break through the moving average. But right now, we don't have either. And then again, as I said before, we're heading into tax loss selling season, and considering that this is a favorite vehicle of institutions, I would strongly suggest that institutions might just be doing some tax loss selling here just to clean up their books. They could sell this asset here, book the capital loss, then come back on January 1st and just go and buy the asset right back. And now they have a new cost base down here for 2016. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That's how it's done.
Well, often it is, right? And also, too, think of window dressing, right? Big institutions, they've got to report in their annual shareholder meetings their holdings, and they may not want to report in their fourth quarter shareholder meetings that they owned this crypto. They may want to say that, hey, we actually sold this thing, all right? And then, like I said, the beginning of the new year, they'll just go and buy it back. So another one, hopefully you guys are seeing a bit of a reoccurring theme. We're going to see a lot of this tonight. There are a few, like the Rubies of the world. Do we still have Ruby? Oh, I got rid of her. That are bucking the overall trend and the GRC. But on balance, what I'm seeing primarily is a theme here, right? We've seen two coins now that have been asked to look at. Do you guys kind of see a theme that's developing here?
Yeah, looking a little bearish. But also, I mean, Bitcoin has gone up in value recently, so that I think that
right. There's also that too, right? So how much of this pullback is attributable to Bitcoin's rise in value? Because keep in mind, these prices here are in, XRP relative to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that. That's an excellent point. And what I've also noticed too is that a lot of these altcoins made lows, like these divergent lows, like this here, when altcoin was face ripping up. So we may actually be seeing a situation here where these prices, kind of like our internal momentum indicators are suggesting, are relatively weak, but they're not indicative of internal weakness in the coin. This weakness was derived not because XRP was crappy, but because Bitcoin was outperforming. Mm-hmm. So that's a very good point that you made there.
Do you think a lot of this, too, is people moving out of those coins and into Bitcoin as Bitcoin's price goes up?
There definitely could be that.
I'm sure that's definitely part of it. I mean, I know a lot of people would prefer not to even, the diehards would prefer not to even hold fiat. So they're going to go from Bitcoin to something else back to Bitcoin.
Well, and it kind of perpetuates itself. If the alts start going down and Bitcoin goes up, some people move stuff out, and then the alts go down more, and so more people sell it, and
So my
Meanwhile,
question,
Bitcoin's going up, and they could sell for USD temporarily once it gets to that peak, and then get back into Bitcoin when it goes down a little bit. And
right? So
makes,
my
It's
question
almost
for
like a
you guys,
self-regulating back and forth.
I think you guys should be able to mine your database of that ARB matrix, right?
mhm.
That should really, I believe that there's mineable data in that ARB matrix to confirm or refute that thesis.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we we have so much data. It's a mind-blowing
Yeah,
amount.
it's just a question of getting around to filtering it, eh?
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
actually
it really is.
analyzing it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that remember, and I think I had I remember you guys tweeted out I tweeted out an image of the Bitcoin rally where it just basically went parabolic, eh? And what's the one word that's so typical of parabolic moves? Starts with an F and has four letters. Two of the
FOMO,
letters are O's.
FOMO.
That's right. In fact, we were gonna. I was joking in our website tonight in our community. I think we're gonna do like. Do you guys remember "Where's the Beef"? You guys
Of
remember the
course.
little old lady, the "Where's the Beef" lady?
Yep.
We're gonna do. If we ever get to the point where we advertise, where we're gonna have like a little old lady just yell, no FOMO, mofo.
That'd be great. I'd click on that ad.
um, and sadly, I think exactly what you just said there, Rob. I wouldn't be surprised that we've even had a few new site members, sign up and stuff through this rally because I sort of kept a level head and was sort of painting upside targets and trying to caution people don't get too excited into this U.S. government auction rally and all that. And we've had a few people, I've had people on Twitter and stuff tell me, yeah, Brian, I went and bought the damn top of the market. I can't believe I did it. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And so, Rob, I think you're exactly right. There's probably a bunch of people that were sitting in some altcoins and just going, you know what, why am I in this altcoin? I want to be in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going up. And sadly, they probably did that right into the FOMO peak.
Yeah.
So, yep, I'd agree with that thought. Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did I cut anybody
No, you
off?
didn't. You didn't at all.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's move on to the next one on the list. So, unfortunately, with Doge, can't justify buying it. Unfortunately, with XRP, can't justify buying it. But I do think XRP, in my opinion, actually, ironically enough, is a little bit better looking than Doge. But both of them are still, I can't pull the trigger. Next on the list. Who's next? Start. Well, this was a really interesting one. I think there's a few coins that have been requested here that we've talked a bit about recently. This was the chart that I actually sent to Will earlier tonight when we're sort of getting ready to do the show. And I'm almost positive we've had this conversation before. It sure feels like deja vu.
I know we've talked about Start. I don't know when, but it was a while ago, but we definitely have.
The sad part about it, and really what I want to do for the viewers, right, is we just want to stop buying these kind of moves. We're not allowed to FOMO anymore. If we are going to make smart decisions, we need to concentrate our efforts when these things, ironically enough, are coming down to the bottom end of their ranges. Right? You guys see sort of the recurrent theme here?
Yep.
And the interesting thing is you could make a pretty penny just trading this same sort of philosophy on this coin, eh?
Sure, absolutely.
And lo and behold, look at what she's doing now, right? I mean,
Bottoming
and
out.
I just basically said, if I had money to put into crypto, this is exactly what I want to be hunting for. This would basically be the same as if you were interested in this name down here. Do you think that would have been a half-decent buy anywhere down in here?
I think so.
Well, I mean, basically all the fluff has been taken out of this market.
Yeah, wow, we're talking about a full-on 8x on that trade. If you would have bought at the bottom there and then sold at the highest peak there, that was times 8.
Well,
800%.
and that often happens, right? They often, from the bottom of moves to the top of the moves, often they are between 5 and 10-fold increases. And I often, especially when we're trading like the little junior stocks, that happens a lot. I used to be, make a religion that we would buy stocks at like 10, 15 cents a share and look to sell them at $1, right? That was very normal. So seeing this sort of, what I find interesting about this is, man, these guys, whoever's running this show, they're making a fortune here. And I
Max Kaiser.
think that this one is liquid enough that you could actually trade it for some half decent size.
Do you think it can peak out even higher the next time it does?
Sure, why not?
It keeps
The
increasing
old, here's the kick in the pants, right? I mean, this thing still hasn't even, eaten up all of its wick up here.
Yeah.
Still a little bit of a wick. I mean, there's countless examples of coins that we've watched that have traded, and then all of a sudden they recapture their ICO and they just go nuts. It's interesting. You heard me talking about Ethereum earlier tonight. I would argue that Ethereum kind of looks like this start, kind of like that. Right? If you look at Ethereum right now, it looks very similar to something like that. I think I still have that chart on here, don't I? Yeah, there it is, right? I mean, this is what Ethereum looks like right now. And, these crazy ICO prices, right? But, and again, Brian, is this an ICO or a new listing or whatever? But you can see how high this crazy high is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point that I'm trying to make, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. The point I'm trying to make is that I would actually look at this, my targets, the fact, you guys have heard me say higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market, right? Ideally, I would like to see this level hold in here. And if it does, right, then literally I just play connect the dots, where my trend is actually something like that. So yeah, I definitely could see higher highs down the road. And if we sort of just do like a very simple sort of market symmetry, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but just roughly, maybe the symmetry looks something like this. It's on some sort of schedule. So all I'm going to do is say, all right, well, if we just keep some sort of similar market symmetry, what would be sort of the next realistic rally window? Well, it looks like next window's here and next window's here. So you could actually, kind of bookmark to keep an eye on how this thing's doing in January. And that would make sense after the end of the tax loss selling year. And then into May, right? Next spring. I wouldn't be surprised.
You're thinking there's a high probability this is going to rebound again, just based on history.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely. This is the kind of thing where, the sad part about it is the public comes in and buys.
Sorry for cutting you off, but I guess the issue is, your attention span has to be able to weather the storm of this, because it's going to take until, potentially January, February, whenever it happens, to get in this position and then just hold it until that.
Absolutely. In fact, hopefully you guys can see, look how long this saucer took to actually bottom and turn, right? So we could draw a similar box here. I could very easily see that this takes basically the same amount of time to actually turn, right? That could very easily. And you guys got to remember, I'm an old man, right? I talk in sort of stock market land. 6 months in the stock market is a blink of the eye. Literally businesses make their business model, especially in venture cap land, they load up in like late December, early January, and they look to sell in May and June, right? Buy when it snows, sell when it goes. You guys have heard me say that before.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's their whole year's business right there. Those two trades, bang, bang. Whole business year is done. Spend the rest of the year on the tennis court schmoozing the chicks.
Yeah.
And that's just business. That's
Well,
just
anything less than a year held is considered a short-term investment, right, by
yeah,
tax
totally,
definition. So
absolutely, right? In fact,
that
when I was a
that
broker,
says it all.
they used to have a rule. If you sit down with a client as a broker and you talk about returns, you always say 3 to 5 year time horizon.
Right.
And the reason why is because we humans, we have a really hard time thinking 3 to 5 years. So it's a really easy way to confuse the public when you say that. And it also, takes the broker's sort of pressure to perform on an annual basis off the table. 3 to 5 years, that's, a typical business cycle is 4.5 years. So if you say 3 to 5 years, then what you're basically saying is at some point over the next 3 to 5 years, we'll catch the top of the business cycle and markets should be pretty happy.
Right.
Right? So, yeah, I got to qualify that. I apologize, crypto community. I know you have a very, very short attention span. But I would, for a guy like me, I would be more than happy to start nibbling on a name like this. I think it's cheap. You may have to go through a few months here of pain, but, down the road, I could easily see you get double your money from current levels, get yourself some free coins, and then, of course, if we see new highs, how many doubles is that from even this level, right? We're at, what does that say, 5,800? Is that right?
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right
Mhm.
now?
It's like 4 full-on doubles there to get
Right.
back to
So,
80,000.
think nice and conservative, little old lady, right? If there's the mark right here, it's saying 72. So if I look to sell half at 14, well, so what I'm saying is if I buy here, can I see this second yellow line tagged at any point over this duration? As I said earlier, I think you're going to see substantially higher levels than that.
Yeah. Wow. You actually put it on there where your first double is in comparison to the historical price action of the coin.
That's
It's
not
pretty impressive.
Yeah,
It's kind of almost a no-brainer that you're going to hit a double on that most likely if the thing doesn't completely collapse.
pretty much. And the irony of it all is, if you take like the little old lady approach, right? Just don't risk more than 5% of your stake on any one of these. You could just go buy some in here and just work that open order. Like on Bitrex, man, I've got open orders that have been sitting there for months. My open orders page is like 5 pages long. And I don't mind. They're not
Yeah.
charging me any money to work the open order. So
Right.
anyway, if I was going to go buy something, this isn't a bad thing to look at, in my opinion. Indicator-wise, technical-wise, like we said, this window might go on for a bit. I don't see any rip-roaring double bottom here in OBV. I see that the MACD is trying to put in a little bit. Can you see the little divergence that's trying to come in here? Can you guys see
A little
that?
bit. Yep.
See the little W? W, W, W. Right? Right there. Breakout. You can see, of course, we had no business selling down here. Really, that would have been a really bad decision, in my opinion. Kind of like down here, you had no business selling here. You just had to wait. If you really wanted to sell, wait and have your orders working up here, and you would have gotten filled up here. I just don't think it's a good idea to get caught up in the selling euphoria. At the same time, like I said, I could see that this has to go through a period of sort of sideways consolidation. That could very easily happen. What the simple message for me is, I'm still a crypto bull. I want to own crypto. I just don't want to be a buyer of these assets when they're face ripping up. And I think this is an example where things aren't so bad. This actually doesn't look that bad in my opinion. All right. Well, I said my piece on Startcoin. And I seem to remember we keep talking about this.
I think Starcoin, I don't know everything about it, but I know they use it for crowdfunding and stuff too. There's like an entire like website kind of devoted to it. Start something. I can't remember the
Okay.
name, but
Well,
I
and
think
then you know
Max
what this.
Kaiser's behind this. You know, the guy from RT, and so it's got some actual fundamentals behind it.
Well, and you know, might be the difference between a story that's worth your investing dollars, where they actually have something fundamentally going on, and like the Doge, right? Where I don't even know whether Doge even has a use, if there's some sort of special, that makes them different. Keep in mind, especially in this, a super competitive marketplace, there's got to be some reason for me to own these coins. And I think you're making the case there that there's actually a reason to own this start coin.
Possibly.
Okay.
Without outright saying it.
Any sort of start coin aficionados, whoever it was that asked us to review this, if you know the fundamental story and the big pitch, just like we had that gentleman that came on for that, what was it again, GRC? What was that?
Yeah, Gridcoin. Yeah, he did a great job, by the way.
Yeah. So anybody who knows the story behind Start and they want to come and tell us why fundamentally this thing's, they're building a better mousetrap, you're more than welcome. Come on and give us your pitch, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody tweet at Max Kaiser and tell him to get on.
Oh, is this Kaiser's?
I think he has a hand in it. I don't know if it's.
Oh boy, that would be an interesting night if we could get Kaiser on here, right?
Yeah, I know he's involved in it in some way. So
he's a real character. He's got a coin of his own. What was that coin that he had?
He had Max coin.
Max, yeah, for I think we did that before, didn't we?
We might have, yeah.
I think we did, yeah, because we told our story about mining it on the first day and everything.
All right, next on the list, BLK. Now this BLK, this is it Blake coin? You guys remember the name of this?
I think it is, but I'm Googling it. Let's see here.
I thought it was black coin.
Well, actually, if you open up your tab on the right on Coinigy, you can actually might as well demonstrate that, hey?
Yeah, well, there we go. All right.
You break the chart and then click on economy on the right. You can see information about pretty much any coin. Yeah,
where am I? You were on it. You were on it. Back down. You're close. Go slower. Go slower.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, there we go. Blackcoin. Blackcoin secures its network through a process called minting. Is that what that says?
Yep.
Okay. Market cap, not bad, a little over $1 million. Available supply, 75 million. A little bit heavy. Actually, I like this, boys. This is looking good.
Yeah,
all right.
Some of the coins we have a lot more information. This one we don't really have a lot, so
a little bit limited.
So you guys have heard me talk about how wicks and tails love to be eaten, eh?
Oh yeah.
So I think really that's the story of this bad boy. If we do our fibs, I guess we don't need the extension levels on right now. Doink, take that off. And everybody can see how easily and comfortably I can do this on the Coinigy platform. All right, so interestingly enough, we haven't really gotten up into the reload short zone here, eh? So maybe the story for the bulls isn't quite over yet. Let's throw on, for argument's sake, 50% rule and our 38.2. Okay, so trivia time. What do we call our 38.2 level?
I think that's a line in the sand.
Survey says.
Shoot.
I can't laugh.
At this
I don't
point,
know either.
I'm just tossing out.
That's okay. Probably by the time we get to our 60th week, maybe
I might have
30th show.
By then.
So guys Brian, explain to me, just because I'm a fib noob, but why before was it 1.618 and now it's 0.618, that one level?
Well, first off, that's a difference between measuring extensions versus retracements. So as you can see, and why don't we just move all the pretty pictures and stuff off of here? What I did here was I simply asked, this coin had a high up here and it got whacked all the way down to here. And so the question I'm asking is, how much of this sell-off is realistic to expect the market to take back? And what these numbers are is simply a percentage of this move. So while, the study is in decimals, right? These are really, in my eyes, percentages, where this is 38.2% of the move, this is 50%, this is 61.8, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so what we're simply asking is, look, this market moved in one direction. Where are some logical stopping points for if we start to try to take back some of those moves? And naturally, especially, I don't know whether I can do this. Let's see, we'll go Google. If we do the fib spiral, this natural progression, right? 61.8 is a significant number in this natural progression. As is, and it's sort of like it just keeps going. 61.8, then 161.8, then 261.8, 361.8. It just seems to keep going. I think if I'm not mistaken, on this like fib default tools, right? If we set this to the default, watch what's they go. Look at these. They go all the way out. There's
4618, yeah.
61.8. I don't know. There's 4618. So the point here is that this 0.618 is a very natural sort of check. And if you think about it, it's kind of like, have you guys ever heard that sort of adage, 2 steps forward, 1 step back?
Yeah, it's a great Paula Abdul song.
If we, in actual fact, naturally speaking, if we do this sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then what this implies is 233s or 66%. Well, it actually turns out in nature, it's not 66, it's 61.8 that it really likes. So it's not quite 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's kind of like 1.8 steps forward to 1 step back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a really, the bottom line here is that, and to answer your question, that's really all that matters here, is if we're thinking 0.618, we're thinking retracements. If we're thinking 1.618 way up here, then we're thinking extensions. And so,
I see. Now you've got it turned on so it shows up there. Okay.
Yeah.
So it just basically has to do with the relationship between where you started the fib as being 1 and then whether you're looking at a backtracking of the price or an increase in the price from there.
Yeah. So if we broke out through the top, right, then we can start talking extensions. You can apply extension studies to the smallest of ranges, right? Let's take this little itty-bitty range down in here. The point here is that the 1.618 to 2.0 are applicable when we have broken out of a trading range and you're asking yourself, where's a logical sort of next stop for this asset to go? Doesn't look like we quite almost hit 1.618. That was awfully close, eh? Interesting how I didn't hit that. And what did
Sorry
we
to get you off on a tangent there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I just sometimes get confused when we look at the fibs because the numbers, they look similar, but they're not the same, and I'm sometimes getting confused between what's what.
Okay.
So
Did that help?
it did. Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, let's get back to the story. So basically, what I think sort of happened here was think retracement, right? We had a big thumping, kabush, and we're going through this cleanup. Look at this beautiful bottom down in here, right? Hopefully you guys can see this sort of W where we went down, up, down, and then started to take off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. We can make the argument now that whatever it was that prompted this rally, it would be interesting to see what the news, the event, what if there was some sort of catalyst on the coin around this event. Whoever it was that asked us to analyze this coin, same thing with the start. We'd love to hear your story, and it would be really interesting to see what the fundamental event was. Can you guys understand? Can you see the momentum divergence here? Oh, we went to higher highs?
Yep.
But we didn't go higher highs in momentum. So there was a bit of a problem here, right?
Yeah.
38.2, we call this our first stop target. Try and remember that for show 30.
Okay.
Right? I'll be quitting you again in 30 weeks, right? It's interesting how First Stop just put a stop on this market here. They tried to push it up once more. Look how it came back to that level and then lost it. And you can actually see that this little high here also lost that too, right? So I think for the time being, whatever the rally off of the lows was, that sort of exhausted itself. And good old Ray Burchett, who sort of introduced me to the concept of the first stop target, he doesn't call it that. That's a name that I gave it. But he basically would say, let this level be resolved before you get really bullish. And I think this is an excellent anecdote to that.
Yeah, it hit the level and it just didn't make it past. So
kind of, right? I think at the present we can use these highs, especially the fact that it was divergence. In essence, this kind of says that this high that's a ceiling up there. You can see the number, everybody watching the video, great lesson for you. If you're watching a coin and you see day after day it just keep putting in these big wicks, can you guys see these wicks?
Yeah.
Right? And it keeps rallying and then stalling, rallying and then stalling, rallying and then stalling, and just can't make higher highs.
Mm-hmm.
If we start breaking down through these lows, then that's a nasty top, right? Good sort of material for you guys to, stuff away back in the memory bank for the future. So I kind of am looking at this like this was our tail. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's a little bit of a dangerous uneaten tail down here. I think this is the top of our current range. And we're doing nothing more than just backfilling and cleaning this market up. We're going to find out whether this bottom is for real, whether this W holds in here, right? You can see the original breakout level. They tried to hold that level, and it failed. You see that? So then your next support level's got to be off of the lows of that range, and you can see how they took it right down to that, right? Probably did a little bit of FU moves. There were probably some open orders sitting down here that as soon as they took the market down there, either the stop losses, whether this is subject to margin trading, I don't know, were triggered, but I wouldn't even be surprised if there were some buy orders that kicked in down here as well. This is also a good testament. You see this nasty little tail down here. We put in another nasty little tail here. This is an excellent anecdote of altcoin shenanigans, right? Was this a little FU move to try and wipe out some weak hands? You could argue conversely, just like we had lots of wicks up top, we're starting to get tails, and that might be indicative of us finding bottoms. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In essence, price was pounded down and then snapped back by the end of the day. It left the tail, and maybe the price has to come down and eat the tail, but for one reason or another, the market really doesn't want to be down here. So that's interesting. Do I have an outright, pound the table, you got to buy this coin right in here? Not really. I did buy some off of this bottom back in the spring, so I'm not in really any hurry. Of course, sell half on a double. We've got lots of sort of free positions at this point on this thing. So sitting on free coins, if we start to get, again, what letter of the alphabet is this guy? Does that look like a V or a W? It very
looks like a V.
V-ish.
It's a V
right?
at the moment.
Kind of like how this was a V here. We just need time to go by, let them put in some sort of range, test these lows, and then turn it back up, and then we'll know we're back in a bull. It's not here just yet. Moving averages are still negative. Don't really have a lot of supporting arguments to, internally for us to be pounding the table. I think, here's a great example where Willie kept you out of trouble. If you own the coin and you saw Willie down here, I don't think it was in your best interest to get swept up in this selling euphoria. And sure enough, you can see the bounce is happening right now. So, where could I see this thing bounce back to in the short term? I think, it's not unrealistic to look for good old Ray Burchett's first stop target, 38.2, right back up in this traffic area. But for the time being, I'm certainly not pounding the table. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. And who's next on the block? Okay, the last one that we have for tonight, again, hopefully you guys have kind of hearing the same reoccurring theme. A lot of these coins are right on their heels. This was just a fantastic winner for us over the winter. I mean, we just got ridiculous amounts of doubles off on this thing. And unfortunately, the party usually has to come to an end and they have to unwind the whole thing. Ironically enough, can you guys see the similarity between this coin and what Bitcoin's doing right now?
Yeah, a little bit. Ironically, this is Vertcoin, and they market themselves as Bitcoin upgraded.
Ah, okay. Well, it looks like somebody is refuting that right now. The way I like to look at this is, and I've talked to you guys at length about this before. If we zoom in on a coin like this, we can actually see the market structure was put in. On this guy, look at this cute little bottom down here. I remember I pointed this out to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Right down here. And then we had a big weekly breakout off of these levels. And when you look at this, you go, holy wow, incredible. But what? And look at the beautiful OBV signal, and momentum was washed out, and I think it was rising here. Let's see what we got. Maybe, maybe not. This was kind of a funny one. All right. Yeah, a little bit of a divergence forming there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Just a little smattering of one in here. It was making new lows, and I remember when we traded this, I was like, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to have to come back and retest these lows. Now, this is sort of the short-term picture, right? If you were so fortunate to buy here, you even got off a number of doubles just on a test of this high. And then watch what this silly thing did. Kaboom! Right?
And those indicators are just screaming at you right there.
Pardon me?
Before that huge rip up, those indicators were just screaming at you to buy, basically.
They were supportive, yep,
Right,
no doubt about it. Money
there.
was flowing into this thing, not out, right? Momentum was washed out. It's tough to see because price was so low down here. That old range, remember how high that high looked like here? Now you can't even see it on the chart, right? The sad part about it, right, and this is an audience, again, the purpose of me doing these shows is simply to stop us from buying this. We just cannot buy this kind of market. Right? I mean, even if you just waited 6 months, and even if you just put your open order at the original breakout level, right, which is way down here, you finally got your fill. if you were just simply patient, right? You got your fill in here. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a cute little double that came up off this trade here, isn't there? But this is, it's interesting. There was a guy that Alex, we talked about Alex before, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has a show, and he has on one gentleman that he seems to like to work with. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but anyway, he loves to talk about these longer-term cycles and how this is actually fairly predictable behavior. So the point that I'm just trying to make here is that and do you guys remember Altcoin from last spring? Sort of the same sort of thing, just insane moves up, right?
Yeah.
And what we just, if you're watching this show, then you've taken the time and the effort to try and learn. But you guys got to understand that the public wants to buy here. The uninformed want to buy this move up here. But as you can see from this chart, this sadly has now become a very cliche chart, where sadly the public got all excited in here. And I remember when we were doing these, people were asking every single show, show us Bitcoin, VTC, it's going to the moon, it's going to the moon. Oh, you got to buy it, got to buy it. And I was just like, great, I'll be more than happy to spoon feed you. You keep doubling the price, I'll keep giving you more coins, but there's no bloody way I'm going to be buying up here, right? And what I find really interesting is, remember these vertical lines, right? This was the weekly breakout, and this was the original little bottom. Look how all they've done is they've just simply brought price right back down to that original bottom here. And it's still not even there yet, is it?
Nope. Got a ways to go.
Technically, we could still go through another couple months of pain. Now, you tell me, if I was Joe Sixpack and I threw $500 into this thing anywhere up in here, can you understand that there's incentive to dump this thing here and book the tax loss?
Yep. Just chalk it up as a loss and move on.
Right. Well, I mean, you can actually use that loss for taxes, right? Mm-hmm. So the point here is, unless these guys come out with some incredible news that they've reinvented the wheel between now and the end of the year, can you really see any reason for this thing to bottom between now and then? I can't see any reason for it to happen. And the irony of it all, like I said, is the guys who actually ran the show, they put the bottom way down here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it's kind of this is a good lesson, because this sort of up and down of the market is very normal. This is very natural, and what we just need to do is learn from this. The cool part about it, guys, is that we are in a very hot part of the market. So when venture capital does get money thrown at it, you get these nutso moves in very hot markets. Everybody here planned to make some serious money off of this. It's just try and force yourself, kind of like the start, that, if anything, now is the time when we have to start really focusing our attention and watching for the bottoms to come in to start thinking about buying. And just learn from these video guys not to be buyers of these assets when they face rip up like this. Okie dokie? What do you think?
Makes
Is that good
perfect
advice
sense
for your audience?
Yep.
Sounds great.
Yep.
All right.
Very good advice.
Holy crap, it's already 20 after 8. Man, I sure talk a lot. Sorry, guys.
It's perfect timing.
Don't have to apologize to us.
Okay, good. I hope you appreciate that. And as you can tell, we're starting a lot of the fluff. As I started this conversation off, a lot of the fluff has been removed from the altcoin market now. So ironically enough, a guy like me, I'm starting to go shopping. I'm actually interested to seriously put some money on the table. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Yeah. So I've got a whack of Bitcoin to spend. I wouldn't be surprised over the next month. I'm going to be loading up on a bunch of these names.
Hey, Well, in 2 weeks from now, we'll expect some big purchases in that portfolio.
Right. Well, and that's the cool part about it. If you guys want, maybe we can figure out a way where we can just publicly display this list. I'm more than happy for you guys to publicly display my performance here, and you
Yeah,
guys
we
can
could
see.
definitely do that.
You guys can see from week to week where I've added, where I've removed, and what my Bitcoin, like right now, because the site's updating right now, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, yep.
So we can't
Probably.
really see what's actually going on here. Oh, there it is. So you guys can see right now, I'm 29% in Bitcoins. This is supposed to be an altcoin portfolio. If we throw Ruby in there, I'm at like 36% in just 2 coins. So I'm far too Bitcoin rich right now. I want to go spend some Bitcoins. Just not yet. I'm almost there. Like that Ethereum. You guys saw that I'm working a bid on Ethereum, right? So
Yeah. So
I've got a bunch of bids working.
do you ever look at trying to lower your cost basis on some coins that you want to keep a long position on that you haven't put a lot of, that they
Well, the
haven't done
magic
that
rule.
well? So,
Yeah, the magic rule for me is the little old lady number, right? So she says that she cannot risk more than 5% of her portfolio on any one single name. So if our portfolio is sitting right now at about 3.5 Bitcoins, then technically that means that we can't have more than 0.15 risk exposure in any one single name, right?
I see. So
So,
you can only do that up to the point of where you don't exceed that threshold, and that's how you
right.
manage your
And
portfolio. That makes sense.
right. And what I've found is that me comfortably, I don't really like to go more than about a tenth of a Bitcoin in any one of these altcoins right now.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to be a personal fit kind of thing. I've actually had to force myself to increase my purchase sizes as the account has been growing here. And right now, my comfortability seems to be somewhere around a tenth of a coin.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm finding is I'll go and buy, 1/20th of a coin, 0.05 BTC right now. And then that way it gives me the flexibility that if price does come down and then I get a half decent technical bottom, well, I can add to the position and not breach that 5% rule. Generally speaking, I would rather the account positions, when I first put them on, I actually want to get to that double position as fast as possible. Once I'm at that double position, then really I don't care about the story anymore. I just throw it into the stockpile and just keep working orders.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why you see that I've got such a rainbow here, is because I've been really fortunate. I've been able to bang out a lot of doubles.
Right. So a
Um,
lot of that is just basically you wait for one of those to really pop for reals.
yeah, well, Ruby's a good example. I've gotten about 3 or 4 doubles off on Ruby here on this rally.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruby sat in the clunker for quite a while. I know it's an eternity for your altcoin audience, but I was at long. My first purchases in Ruby were last October, not October 2015, but October 2014. And I have the patience of Job, right? Once I get into a free position, then really it's just part of the stockpile as far as I'm
Mm-hmm.
concerned.
Right. It's just in the
Guys,
system. Wait for the next double, basically. Let your order work and
yeah, I
work.
mean, what's really what
Research
I
other coins in the meantime.
yeah, well, it's kind of like that start, right? I think I could bang off a double there without a lot of difficulty,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
Mm-hmm.
I could get myself into that double position, then really it's just I'm in the story. Let's see where it takes us. Um, I have, contemplated going back and buying the position back when the coin collapses, but I find that actually I I'm a bit reluctant about going back to an old story unless the chart just looks really, really good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a downward spiral if you start doing that. Then you start chasing one coin, or I think you all of a sudden your whole philosophy that you teach and the way you follow it kind of falls apart if you start trying to do that.
Well, I did that. Like a good example is the cannabis coin, right? We were really, really fortunate there. In that I captured like most of this nutso rally last year. This rally over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it collapsed, and I was like, well, all right, we'll
And
go
then it
and
did
buy
what they all do before they go up again. It bottomed out, flatlined for a good period
Yeah,
of time.
there was actually a little bit of a trade here, and I was kicking
Yeah.
myself because I didn't. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, it came back down, I'll go and buy some. And I'm just sitting here going,
Now you got the long wait.
yeah, now what the hell do we do, right? And I would actually rather have taken that money that I made on Canada, and I didn't put all the money back. I just bought a little bit of it back.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather take that money and go and buy a new name, right? And keep building out my universe.
Yeah.
I want this to have every single color in the rainbow. Right?
Well, and that's kind of the proof right there, that chart that you just showed, because you got like the one time where you did decide to do it, it so far has kind of bit you in the ass a little bit. It's really not. I mean,
I've bought it back.
There,
And
right.
so, the ones that I
last
bought back,
3 months there has just been horrible. It's just not
yeah, it's just
gaining
kind of
any
like
momentum
oh,
whatsoever.
Yeah, and they often say, right, that have you ever heard me say too far, too fast?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When a market goes up parabolic like this, sadly, this is a warning that this thing is going to take a long time to have to clean up. Basically, we've got to go through the process of breaking all of the hearts of all of the weak hands. We have to slowly get them out of here.
Mm-hmm.
This might take a year or two. Well, no, it has taken a year or two. It might take a couple more years. So I'm not really a big fan of adding. I kind of like the idea of coming up with a story, throwing a little bit of money at it, get yourself into a free position. Ideally, what I would absolutely love is once I have the free coins, move the coins to a separate account. Actually, just move them right off the exchange.
And that's the safest method.
Yeah, I mean that would be my choice. I think as the altcoin market matures, keep in mind, I think, guys, we're still very much in the beginning of this game.
Sure. One thing I wanted to comment on too, I mean, just in terms of like the impatience of alt traders and everything, I think a big part of that is that people are still unsure if altcoins are even going to be around in a year. So it's like, okay, well, I don't want to hold on to this long term because I don't even know if these markets are going to be alive, a year or 2 years from now. So short term seems to be like the way to go.
It was almost 2 years ago when I asked you how long these altcoins were going to exist when we first started thinking about creating Coinigy.
Right.
And wondering if it was worth it to focus on the altcoins. And here we are, 2 years later, and I mean, it hasn't, they're not booming by any stretch, but it's also, continued to be, prevalent in the cryptocurrency space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, right, and that's kind of my point too, is that I don't see them going anywhere. I mean, they may not be, crazy like late 2014 or whatever, or early 2014, but I don't see it going anywhere. I just see it maturing, really, in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If anything, what's going to have to happen here is these guys, maybe the honeymoon might have worn off a little bit, and the names actually have to justify their existence. Kind of like, with that start, right?
Certainly some of them are going to wash out for sure.
Yeah. I think I've probably bought a total of maybe about 85 coins, right? And you've seen, I mean, you guys have seen, I've shown you the shit list before. We've probably had maybe about a half a dozen to a dozen get wiped out. I'm prepared to live with those kind of numbers, considering how many doubles we've banged out. I think it's worth our while. I don't know who's going to be the ultimate winner in this game. I don't think anybody really does. And what I just simply want to do is I just want to own a little piece of everything because I don't know who the ultimate winner is going to be. And we're looking at cannabis here. This is all just strictly around marijuana, right? And we had a big pothead who was just elected Prime Minister of Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I find it hilarious. I mean, I don't know whether you guys are aware of this. I'm an old man. When I was a kid, it was like, I mean, literally, you could get like a life sentence in the state of Washington for smoking a doobie on the sidewalk. I mean, that's how insanely, anti-drugs. You remember during Reagan's time and all that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And British Columbia was known as sort of the marijuana capital of the world, right? BC Bud. I don't know whether you ever heard of that or not. But anyway, the long and short of it is...
yeah, I've never heard of that, I swear.
You've never heard that?
Nope,
Anyway.
not at all.
No.
You're yanking my chain, right?
You sense
Anyway.
the sarcasm.
The point here is that that's completely flipped. I swear, you guys, have you ever heard me say you can't write better fiction than reality? I swear, I would have, if you sat down like 20 years ago and said, what's the future going to look like for marijuana in 20 years, I guarantee you no psychic anywhere would ever say that pot is going to be legal in the state of Washington but illegal in the province of British Columbia.
Yeah,
Nowhere would you
bizarre.
have ever seen that. Like, that was the most outlandish possible prediction, and yet this is our reality. Frankly, it shocks me. So I honestly think that before this, the new Prime Minister here in Canada, his name's Justin Trudeau. He actually has quite a lineage. His father was a very famous Canadian Prime Minister. And I wouldn't be surprised by the time he's done, and usually these Prime Ministers last somewhere between 5 and 10 years, by the time he's done, marijuana will be legal in Canada. So that ought to help these pot coins quite a bit.
Good. Got some fun times in store then for the future.
Yeah, well, I think I've got like thousands of these coins, and I'm just waiting for the day when one coin
to cash them in for some. You're gonna cash.
Remember that one coin is supposed to buy you 1 gram of marijuana for one of these coins? I can't remember which one it is.
Oh, is that really what? Yeah,
one of
I suppose, yeah. I mean, because I don't know.
Who knows?
Price that they're at.
It's a fun spin on the crypto story, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if there are other spins. Like I own a TIT, for example, right? That's the Playboy's cryptocurrency. That's an interesting spin because the porn industry, they're all over the internet.
Yep.
You guys were talking about smart contracts. I mean, we just have no idea which way this story is going to go over time, eh?
Mm-hmm.
So like I said before, I just want to own a little bit of every single one of them, and if they want to double in value, fine, I'll give the market a little bit of coin. That's fine. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come in here once every 2 weeks and just take a good, fresh look at these things, because now hopefully you guys can appreciate. 6 months ago, I was kind of like, oh man, these things are all looking so expensive. Now I look at a lot of these coins like START, right, like that BLK, and it's like, hey, these things are starting to look cheap again.
Yeah, I do have to say the sentiment has changed dramatically. I mean, from when we first started, I remember a lot of more negative analysis, and now it's kind of leaning more towards, I might think about buying this here in the near future.
Good.
Well, hey, I wanted to say, too, we appreciate it, Brian, and you do a great job. I mean, you obviously make the show, so...
Well, thank you.
Without you, and we really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, and you know what? We've just so the audience knows, the boys have been sort of forwarding the positive feedback and comments from the audience. So I really appreciate the positive kudos and stuff from you guys. Thank you very much. It makes me feel as though that I'm actually reaching some of you guys, and if I can help you avoid some of the very simple mistakes that a lot of the public often makes when they're risking their hard-earned money. That's the whole purpose of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. All right.
Cool. Well, on that note, I think
Number
we
16
are.
in the books.
Yeah.
All
Book
right.
it.
With a
And,
bullet.
yeah.
Mark it on your calendars for 2 weeks from tonight. Next show.
And if you're
Oh,
still
wait,
with
what were we
us,
gonna do? Didn't we do a price prediction? Do you remember we did that the last show?
Yeah, we
oh
did.
man,
It was pretty unofficial.
I think I remember I was expecting price to come down a bit on Bitcoin. In fact,
Yeah,
I do
I
remember.
thought you guys were at 360 or something.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
thought it
not a
was going to
bad
be way
call.
low.
What the question is, what market were we looking at?
yeah, I don't even remember. Did you save the chart?
I'm going to have to go back and watch the video.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, if anybody's watching, I seem to remember I said I was thinking 375 or something like that. So I wonder where 2 weeks ago was. That might have been like over here somewhere.
Yeah, it was just starting to come down.
Yeah. All right, so 2 weeks from now, where should we think price is going to go?
We should save it on a chart this time, I think.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna be a little bit bearish and say we're gonna go probably. Actually, I can't see. Hang on, let me make this bigger.
But do we want to? Are we gonna? First off, what do you guys actually? And this would be good feedback from you guys. From your user base, what's the most selected Bitcoin symbol?
That's a good question. We technically have that data, but we don't necessarily analyze it.
Well, just on balance, do most of your users look at Phoenix? Do they look at Stamp? Do they look at OKCoin?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd say for USD, they're on Bitstamp for the most part.
Stamp. All right. So should we use Stamp?
Sure.
Okay. From my perspective, as Muhammad called, what Muhammad called Jesus? Hey, here's a bit of religion for you. Uh-oh. Muhammad called Jesus the cleanest of all the prophets. I would argue that Stamp is the cleanest of all the Bitcoins. Do you guys notice that? I think there's the least amount of shenanigans on.
Yeah, I get that impression too. Yeah.
Okay.
With a strong second being in Coinbase, but they don't have the long history.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got a chart up here. Are we going to make predictions and then we'll tweet this out? Yeah, for the hell of it, why not?
Sure.
It's up to you.
Good way to track it.
Let's go. I'm going to go 372. So we'll put a big B. Brian's prediction will be 372. All right, where do you want to go, Rob?
I think I'll go at. I think we're going to stay in this range here that we've kind of been in. I'm going to go at 325.
Okay, we'll put Rob at 325. Okay. All right, and Will, what do you got?
Book me for 290.
Oh boy, they're a nice bear.
Ooh, I hope you're right on that one. I got an order working down there.
To sell?
No, to buy.
290. So you're gonna be. You said 290 even?
Yeah, 290.
All right. Okay, and then we'll put our little vertical line for next week. What will be the date? Can you just quickly look at your calendar? What will be the date?
1 second.
December 2nd.
Oh, actually, that worked out well. Okay, so I'll tweet this out. And
nice.
I'm done.
All
okay,
right.
Actually, why don't here? We'll put. Geez, what the hell am I doing? I'm the only bull here. Something's not right about that.
I don't know. I'm just going with my gut here.
No, that's cool. That's fine. Hey, man. Right, and you said Rob 320.
325 was it?
325. And Will says $50. No. 290? Is that what you said? 290?
290. You got
All
it.
right. All right. There we go. Let's
right.
tweet this bad boy out. It says Coinigy 2. We'll say, what do we want to call this? That doesn't really matter, but anyway. We'll say BTC predicts by the, what's the name of our show we do here?
Really, Brian?
Isn't it like the altcoin? What is it?
Well,
What
we
is it?
started out calling it Webinar Wednesdays. Then we
Yeah.
started mentioning Altcoin 5.
Yeah.
Then we just decided to start calling it Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. As we
Is that
put
what
that, yeah, that's what we put it on at on
Is that an
iTunes.
at? Can we go, or is that a hashtag?
It's going to be a damn
The
long
longest hashtag ever.
Bitcoin. What is it again? Bitcoin and altcoin.
I would do Bitcoin and the altcoin as hashtags if you want to get the most exposure. That's kind of usually what we do.
No, this is the way I'm going to save it for my reference. I don't care what the public sees.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Altcoin trading talk, right?
Yep.
What we're calling it now? Bitcoin altcoin trading talk. That sounds good. What the hell? Okay, predicts by Bitcoin trading talk. Boys. Okay, so we'll send that out. All right, I'm done talking.
Let's wrap it up. Let the people hit the hay.
Stick a bow on it, and we're done, so we'll stick a fork in it. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps us out. And until next time, happy trails.
2 weeks.